Hook. Have you ever had someone treat your home, your space, like it was nothing? Imagine working hard for years to finally have a little peace, a yard, and a fence to protect it, only to wake up one morning and see your neighbors smashing through it, just because they thought they were entitled to a shortcut. That's where my story begins. At first, I wanted to let it go, to be the bigger person. But when kindness was met with arrogance, when my patience was trampled the same way she trampled my garden, I realized I had to stand up. Not just for my fence, but for my dignity. And what I did next not only shocked her, it taught me more about boundaries, both physical and emotional, than I ever expected. Stick with me until the end, because this isn't just about revenge. It's about reclaiming respect in the most unexpected way. When I first moved into my little house, it wasn't much to look at. The paint was faded, the porch sagged, and the backyard was overgrown, but it was mine. I had spent years renting cramped apartments, listening to neighbors argue through paper, thin walls, and now, for the first time, I had a place I could truly call home. I poured myself into fixing it up, painting the walls, planting flowers, and especially repairing the old wooden fence in the back. That fence wasn't just wood and nails. It was my line of peace, the thing that marked my space from the world outside. The problem began with Karen, my neighbor. She was the kind of person everyone warned me about when I moved in. Loud, entitled, and always quick to remind you how long she'd lived in the neighborhood. The first time we met, she didn't say hello. She demanded I cut down a tree in my yard because it dropped leaves near her driveway. That should have been my first warning. One morning, I stepped outside to see my fence destroyed. Panels knocked down, splintered wood scattered across my yard, like someone had taken a hammer to it. My stomach dropped. At first, I thought maybe it was a storm. But then I saw her, Karen, striding across my backyard as if it were a public sidewalk. She waved her grocery bags in the air and said, "Oh, don't mind me. This way's faster to the store." Faster, as if that excused the fact that she had literally smashed my fence just to cut through. I confronted her, my voice shaking more from shock than anger. I told her she couldn't just walk through my yard, let alone destroy my property. She rolled her eyes and said, "Oh, relax. It's just a fence. Nobody cares. You should be grateful people even want to walk through this dump." Her words stung deeper than I admitted. For weeks, I had worked late nights fixing that fence, sanding it, staining it, making it strong again. To her, it was nothing. To me, it was proof that I could rebuild something in my life. I wanted to shout at her, to scream. But I bit my tongue and said I'd fix it. Maybe if I showed her patience, she'd respect it. But she didn't. Days later, I fixed the fence again. 2 mornings after that, broken. Again. It became a cycle I repaired, she destroyed. Each time she laughed, shrugged, or mocked me for caring so much about a stupid wall of wood. My friends told me to call the police, but I wanted to believe people could change. Maybe she was lonely, maybe she just needed someone to talk to. I tried to reach out, to be neighborly. But every attempt was met with more bitterness, more entitlement. She didn't want kindness. She wanted control. The final straw came one rainy night. I heard banging outside and rushed out with a flashlight. There she was, in the mud, tearing apart the fence with her bare hands like it was some personal challenge. When I shouted, she spun around and screamed, "I'll walk where I want! This neighborhood doesn't belong to you." That's when I knew. This wasn't just about wood. It was about boundaries, respect, and the fact that I had been allowing someone to steal my peace. And if kindness didn't work, maybe strategy would. I started doing research. Property laws, boundary rights, easements. I spent late nights reading legal documents instead of watching TV. What I found gave me an idea so bold I almost didn't believe it could work. The fence wasn't the issue. It was the land itself. And if Karen thought she could trample over what wasn't hers, then maybe I needed to make sure the land itself told her otherwise. The next month, I saved up every spare dollar and spoke to the man who owned the narrow strip of land that bordered Karen's yard. It was technically unused, just a patch of overgrown grass, but legally it was up for sale. When I explained my situation, he agreed to sell. Suddenly, I wasn't just the owner of my yard. I was also the owner of the boundary she used as her shortcut. The first time she tried to cross again, I was waiting. This time, instead of a wooden fence, there was a brand new iron gate, tall, locked, and unbreakable. When she rattled it and demanded to know what I was doing, I showed her the deed. Calmly, without yelling, I explained that she was now trespassing on not one, but two of my properties. Her face turned red, her words sputtered, but for once, she was the one on the outside. But here's the twist. Locking her out wasn't the end. She kept trying to fight it, complaining to the neighborhood association, even threatening to sue. Yet every time, the law was on my side. Papers didn't lie. For the first time, her arrogance didn't win. The day I truly knew I had my peace back wasn't when the gate went up. It was weeks later, when I stood in my yard, sipping coffee, and realized I wasn't afraid anymore. I wasn't waiting for the sound of splintering wood, or the sight of someone barging into my space. I had taken back control of my life, not through anger, but through persistence and boundaries, both physical and emotional. And here's the lesson I want you to take away from this. Sometimes, being the bigger person doesn't mean staying quiet or letting people walk all over you. Sometimes it means standing tall, setting your line, and saying, "Enough." Your peace is worth protecting, and no matter how many Karens try to tear it down, you have the right and the power to defend it. Final message: what started as a broken fence became a journey about self-respect. And if you've ever had someone treat your boundaries like they didn't matter, I hope this story reminds you you're allowed to stand firm. You're allowed to reclaim your peace.